Welcome, as always, to the weekly briefing. Tim is on location, if you will, today, so you get substitute teacher me, but appreciate having all of you here. As aforementioned, we are going to talk about one of my favorite topics with my good friend Ammar Shallal, managing director of Hive Gaming. So, as a means to get into it, Ammar, I wonder if you want to take a minute to at least find folks a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Hive.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joe. Pleasure to be here. So, as Joe mentioned, I'm the managing director, one of the partners over at Hive Gaming. I've been at Hive for coming up, I think LinkedIn just told me I've been there for 5 years, which is, yeah, thank you, which is a wild stat. Got pulled over during COVID. I had been at a PR firm previously, working on earned media in the restaurant lifestyle startup space. And the founder of Hive we knew each other from a former life. He pulled me over, and it's been a really eye-opening experience to get into gaming, to learn all about gaming, and just see all the different verticals. And obviously during COVID, gaming was just exploding. And so we got to sort of ride that wave and most importantly, pivot as that wave started crashing, which Oliver probably knows better than most. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about my experience, and kind of go from there.
Awesome. So you and I were having a conversation a couple of days, which is why I was particularly excited to have you on, and we got on the subject of gamification, not necessarily in the context of games or gaming spaces, although we obviously got there. Um, but you were pretty fired up about gamification and its role in our lives. We just kind of tell me why that is.
Yeah, I was getting on a pitch for I forget what the brand was, but we were sort of talking about gaming, and I was reflecting on the fact that the night before, my kids who are 4 and 7 were at like a community night event, and it's lots of boring sort of community groups, the local library, the fire station, all this and that. But what creates the biggest draw is that like wheel that you spin that gets you the prize that you can reach your hand in and grab. And I kind of was reflecting and saying, oh wow, that's gamification. They've literally gamified the fact that why are you coming to talk to us? Because you get to spin the wheel. That's it. That's what it's all about.
The same wheel that everyone has known since their childhood, since the dawn of time.
Exactly. And that's all it took. And so realizing that that strategy works there, it works on your Apple Watch rings, it works on your Duolingo sort of streak, and just seeing all the different places that gamification has come into our lives and really continues to be such a sticky mechanism that so many brands are expected to really deploy as they go through.
And one of the things I've been thinking about is that gamification for creatives and for marketers and brand marketers, maybe more specifically, in years past has felt a little bit like a buzzword. Like it used to be some kind of hack, right? Like we're going to do this gamification and then we're going to trick regular people into executing against some kind of brand objective as a result of the thing being a game. And then as a result, we're going to get what we want. But it feels to me a little bit like we're kind of past that now, right? Like we're kind of past bait and switch gamification, and we're a little bit onto a different phase, maybe of expectation. Does that ring true to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again, there is a point where um, when your Apple Watch does tell you like take a deep breath and like stand up and do all of those things, we're getting those alerts like in our life everywhere at all times to like come back to me, do this, do that. And I think it's not only past expiration in certain places. It's just we're exhausted, right? We're exhausted by all of those notifications and alerts and reminders and do this, do this, do this, don't forget your streak and all those things. So I think it's definitely gotten saturated, and we've now got to move to a gamification 2.0.
But those things exist because it works. Like there's
Yeah.
cognitive science behind that. They wouldn't like we wouldn't be doing it if it didn't.
Yeah.
But your saturation point is really salient for me. So I think for you and the folks at Hive, there's a reason you focus on the channels that you do. And that reason is because like even though gamification is sort of blasting at you from all angles all the time, it's literally on your wrist, not mine currently. But it's because people still go to spaces to play games, right?
Yep. Exactly. It's where people go to unwind. It's where people go to disappear. It's where they get to be the hero. It meets so many needs for so many different people, and it's very prevalent in so many people's lives.
And so we're going to talk about some of that stuff. Obviously, some of the specific places that you see success and maybe some of the places that you don't. But one of the big things for me, and any of y'all who listen to me sort of have heard me get on the soapbox, but like we make stuff, a lot of us on behalf of brands, and the conceit is that people watch this stuff in exchange for getting whatever the thing they actually want is, right? And so if we're in the business of transactional exchange, we should, and we're going to go to the place where people are doing the fun thing. I think the conceit for you, Ammar, and for Hive is that the thing should also be fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's not that it should be fun. It has to be fun because you're interrupting their fun. You're interrupting the thing that they want to be doing, and you've got to make it great, or they're not only not going to do the thing that you want, they're going to hate you for it. And so they're really, really there's a really high bar for the channels that we're talking about here and the expectations. The we talk about this with marketers all the time, and frankly, it's a reason why a lot of them want to stay away from gaming audiences because they don't want to get canceled just because their ad flopped or this happened or they tried this. The stakes are too high for a lot of them.
I am being entertained, and the expectation is that you, brand, also entertain me in a fully non-bullshit way. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me about some of those ways. Like, tell me about the most interesting ways that are a non-bullshit way we can be entertained.
Yeah, I mean, one thing it's a little bit old hat, but the way that things are being utilized and leveraged now are kind of getting more and more interesting. One thing that we're deploying for a lot of our brands is like a product or a service called playables. And so the idea with playables is you're going to have an ad anyway. So instead of it just being a static ad or having it just be, some video that you're watching, why don't you actually play a game that features the brand while you're going? So that could be something like, your one example that we do is with McDonald's. So all of a sudden, you have an empty fry container, and fries start falling from the top of the screen, and you have to literally try to catch them going back and forth to be able to sort of score your prize. One pitch that I actually just recently gave for a gas station, which we didn't get, but that's what
I appreciate the candor. This is a safe space, man. It's all
yeah.
good.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, which is 90% of the time we don't win the business. So I'm amongst friends on that because you guys know the struggle. But it was a gas station, and I was like, how great would it be if we had the game be that you pump the gas and you try to stop it right at $10 or
God, that's
right
so
at
good.
$20. I was like, this is the greatest idea ever. Like that would be so much fun. People would just want to play that game by itself because that's the best part about still having a gas powered car. So yeah,
And
that it's those types of things that I think create engagement and fun in a way that people are really enjoying.
you need to get that game sold through because my nephews are going to have no idea what that even means. Like
Yeah,
that's just
I know.
that's nothing to them. But
That's
okay,
great.
talk to me about the environments where stuff like that happens and like who that's for.
Yeah. So, do you mean like kind of like the practical applications of that type of experience? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Like, what am I doing in my daily life where I get to play the McDonald's French fry game? And also, that game sounds sick. And how come I've never been served it?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, when we're talking about mobile ads, mobile gaming, that really represents the vast majority of the overall gaming contingent. Um, the stats that really surprise people are when I tell them that, there's between 330 and 350 million Americans, and something like 275 million of them are considered gamers. That number is vast majority due to mobile gaming, and it's due to people that are playing the New York Times crossword puzzle to Fortnite to everything in between. And so within the mobile gaming environment, when you're playing a game like Candy Crush, when you're playing a game like, a puzzle game, and you have an ad break because you either don't have the premium version of the game or because it just is what it is, you will be served an ad. And those ads will be a typical 15-second video. It will be a 30-second video. It will be a static display. You've got all the different options. But what really drives engagement is having one of these playable experiences. So hopefully that answered. I don't know if that's where you're going.
Yeah, it does. That's kind of what I'm getting at is like, all right, well, we all make stuff. That stuff is often ads. Why isn't the ad a game and where can it be a game and what do I have to do to make the ad into a game? So the answer is make a game in a media environment that's for mobile.
Yep.
And the idea that the mobile environment is already a game, if I'm hearing you, is supporting the idea that I'm already having fun, don't stop my fun.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when your ad is the fun, playable game ad, and the next ad is a boring off the shelf ad, you just make yourself look that much better.
I'm interested in your observation that most people are gamers, whether that's New York Times or whatever. My grandma playing Words with Friends with the other grandmas, which is a thing that's happened. It's like it's enormously cute, but cool guys. My grandma's a gamer, like that. She'll get a kick out of that. Um, that perception, I think, I'm sure you're tired of talking about it, but the perception probably in our market and specifically as we're talking about brand marketers, the folks we're all fairly accustomed to dealing with, of a gamer being a person in somebody's basement doing a certain right, playing on a console, doing a certain thing, is probably pretty tired. But I suspect that applies to other environments where you're talking about deploying kind of the infrastructure of gamification to get benefit also. So like, let's look at other environments where gaming is happening and other environments where there's infrastructure for gamification. What else comes to mind to you?
I mean, I certainly think about like the streaming space a lot, live streaming. Clearly, platforms like Twitch and YouTube gaming are huge areas that we focus in a lot of our kind of marketing focus along kind of deploying along those lines. Um, TikTok as well is even another space as well that has some crossover along those lines. But really, we have frankly stepped away from using gaming too much because of kind of what I was saying about like the pivoting away from the term gaming. And we've been positioning it more as just like live streaming. And that being something that we tend to get a lot more interest in because, the CMO tells people we need to be live streaming, we need to be on TikTok, we need to be here, we need to be there. And then they come reach out to us and say, okay, how can we do this the best possible way? And then we kind of start talking about some of the things that we have available.
So you're talking about gamification as the mechanism for what we create, live streaming as the environment in which you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting. What kind of stuff are you making?
So again, they continue like I mean, everyone understands that attention is the currency that's out there, and that's what it's all about. And so, how do we continue to evolve, and how do we continue to create something new and interesting? For us on the live streaming side of things, I don't know. I could raise your hands. How many of you guys spend a lot of time on Twitch or any time on Twitch or watching YouTube streaming or any of those things? Not a lot. So the point here is that people are consuming this content hours and hours on end, right? It's left on in the background. It's almost like the version of the hardware store that has like talk radio on in the background. This is sort of what this generation is doing. They've got their streamers, they're listening to Twitch in the background. That's kind of happening in the background. Now, for the one format is what's called just chatting. And it is literally just, hey, everyone, let's just have a conversation and let's just talk. And I'll talk for hours. And what was your day like? And that's the setup. Another one, which is what Twitch is sort of best known for, is people watching other people play video games. And you have watched somebody play Mario Kart 1,000 times. You've seen somebody play Fortnite 1,000,000 times. You've seen all these things happen. So your attention can wait in that scenario because you've seen it happen. What we've been able to start putting in are these either AI triggered or chat triggered or game triggered ads or experiences that basically come to life only for the viewers, not for the players, so it doesn't distract them from what's going on, in a format that no one has ever seen before, because we literally custom made it for this stream, for this game, for this experience for them. And so it really blows people away when they see that, because it's literally never been done before. So that is something that has been big, has been really interesting, has gotten brands very excited, and it allows them to show up within the game in an additive fashion that's not interrupting, that's making their experience better than what it was before.
Break one down for me.
Yes.
Pick a game, a racing game, Mario Kart, something fun.
So a campaign that we did last summer was with Progressive Car Insurance, who's one of our big accounts. They wanted something brand safe, so they don't do stuff in gory games or shooter games or any of those. So we went with FIFA. We grabbed a few influencers that are big in FIFA, and what we built out was when a goal would be scored, a little animated version of Flo would pop up at the bottom of your screen holding a sign, just being like, you scored, like goal, whatever, some fun little thing. And the host, the streamer, would see it and be like, whoa, that's awesome. Like, flow is on my chat, right, or is on my screen. Or another example is right now we're in the process of putting together also within FIFA, just because World Cup is coming to the US, so a lot of brands are really interested in getting involved in anything soccer related. So Powerade, we're doing a pitch for them right now. Their tagline is "Pause is power." So that's perfect. Every time you pause the game, that animation pops up. The like basically all of the Powerade bottles show up, they spin, they look good, they sort of pop up on your screen, and they're like floating there. And it is a natural tie-in with what's happening inside of the game. Pauses power and the progressive flow kind of set up. Those are a couple of examples.
So this doesn't have to live within the game environment. It appears for the streamer or appears for the viewer, not the streamer.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good distinction. Up until this point, when brands think about quote unquote getting into gaming, they think, okay, I have to call the publisher, I have to hard wire myself in, I have to spend millions of dollars, and I have to wait for development, and I have to do all of these other elements. This is a yeah, it's basically it's a digital overlay that happens between the streamer's post and or the streamer's screen and the viewers that fires and sort of shows up, similar to like you know the picture-in-picture play right now. That's like something that's more common in some football games, and you kind of have that as an ad unit as well, and some of these other pieces. But yeah, it's a really captivating kind of experience for the users or for the consumers.
Okay, so this is fun. Sounds like we can trigger it and we can make fun stuff.
Yes.
I have an actual question about that though. So when we think about gamification, which is to say, like, if we're going to interrupt the interesting thing, then we should make the interruption interesting. That is the conceit, right? Um, well, cool. Like we're creatives, we can make the interruption interesting thing. The flow thing is interesting, like whatever. That's fine. Um, if I think about gamers as an audience, and I think about folks watching streaming games, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are they to be like, fuck you to this?
I would say uh, if 10 is definitely and 1 is not, definitely like a 2 or a 3, a max on the scale. Um, they and you know that because of their they tell you how they feel immediately, and you can see it in chat. And so chat is like, whoa, this is cool, this is interesting, this like, whoa, I've never seen that before, right? And that's another piece of kind of how we deploy it. Um, the, what we end up doing is we actually only have it happen during maybe 5 or 6 live streams. Then what we end up doing is we grab the highlights from the live stream, chop it up, put it on social, and then put paid ads behind it. So that way we can do a better job of the targeting. It drives the CPM down, and it's not constantly interrupting. It shows up in another ad unit, basically in a very interesting and different way. Reserving the population that's most interested.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I am interested in
Thanks, Ed.
in this, yeah, in this conceit of gamification, right? And I'm interested in dropping it into gaming infrastructure that people are already having fun here, so let's make the other thing also fun. You told me about one other thing that I want you to share with these folks. I do have a preface that I feel the need to say to the few of you that are on the call and however many human beings see this later. I, Joe Valentine, am younger than you, Ammar Shallal, but when you say this word, it makes me feel like a real grandpa. And that word is phygital. What is phygital?
Yeah. So phygital, I think, has come from um, the idea of what happened in COVID, right? Everyone's COVID lockdown, everyone is stuck inside. So everything went all digital. Everything is digital. Um, COVID ends, there is a rush and a push to um, travel, to go experience things, to get outside, to be in person, and marketing dollars have followed. And so that is the physical side. Now, we learned a lot during COVID. We pushed the boundaries of digital experiences, but now we also have the physical experience that we need to bring in. And so being able to properly tie together those two pieces creates a phygital experience, half physical, half digital.
Fine, I'm annoyed about it, but I accept. Um, Say more about gamification in the context of half digital, half physical.
Yeah, so Hung, I think you were talking a little bit about like the AR VR side of things, right? So I'll talk about one pitch that we've made that we, again, in the spirit of not landing things, that hasn't landed, but I think it's a really good idea and maybe Hung something that you can bring to life. And then I'll talk a little bit about something that has landed and that we are doing, and kind of going from there. So um, one basically idea that we've had is um, there's a very high interest in F1, right? That's become a new sort of movement. Motorsports are kind of having a moment. I think um, uh, part of it is because obviously of the Netflix show. There are now F1 bars that are all over that you can have the experience yourself, and be able to kind of do that. So we were pitching a car brand and we were saying, what we're bringing to the table here is you should, yes, digitally be inside of a number of these video games like you already are so that people can, experience driving your car. But then the next piece is we should actually have you all show up in a gaming truck, and create a, basically a driving experience for people to feel the car, to drive the car, to virtually experience the car, while you're at the racetrack, and be able to do that while you're there at the event and be able to experience that. And that concept can be applied to so many different events and different thoughts and different ideas, right? You could go to a concert and have a gaming truck where you set up what is it, like rock band, and let people play the music and kind of do that while they're at the concert, and sort of walking around and experiencing it at the pre-party and pre-event and be able to make that an activation. What we have been doing is we have built a college-wide tour during football season, which is happening right now. And so what we do is we have a gaming truck. We visit like 10 different rivalry football matches, games. During the week that leads up to it, we hold online gaming tournaments for the EA college football title. The people who are playing those tournaments can compete to be able to actually come to the game and compete for the championship on the truck, at basically the pre-game celebration before the actual game. And so you've now had a digital experience that moves to an in-person physical experience. Some people only experience the digital side. some people only experience the physical side. There's some crossover that connects the two, but the delivery when we go back for the wrap report has a massive digital component and a massive physical component, which is what brands are looking for in 25 and 26. And so that is something that has done well. There's another version of that where you do it kind of a similar setup on the digital side, but then you bring that to a Comic-Con, you bring that to a festival of sorts, where you can kind of also have that be the place where you bring it instead of having to run your own sort of tour as well. So there's Phygital. Joe, you're not that old. Don't worry
I
about
can do it. All right, I can talk about that. So if I'm hearing you right, as opposed to sort of like taking the infrastructure and sticking the interesting thing into the existing infrastructure, it's like, well, we've got the infrastructure of experiential, and let's just use the interesting thing, if you will, right? The
it.
fact
Yeah,
that people like gaming, and use it as a driver, one way or another, or both ways, right? We can drive you from digital to physical and vice versa. Did I say that right? From
yeah,
digital to physical and vice versa. Um, just using gaming as a mechanism and thinking about it a little bit differently, and maybe outside the box of I am here on console or on mobile doing this thing in this enclosed environment. It can go from, again, from digital to physical, from physical to digital, and the world isn't bound by the sort of like four corners of the screen.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. That's exactly right, and it checks the boxes for the brands. Like at the end of the day, and it kind of allows people to be able to hit their numbers in a way that's interesting and fun. Really, like you get great content that comes out of it from those types of experiences.
Yeah, I think that's a whole nother layer that we didn't talk about. We were obsessed with making sure people who want something like something non-stupid to happen in their advertising experience to get a gamified experience. But we didn't even talk about the fact that the content can also be non-stupid as a result of that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And where I thought you were going with it is, that the engagement is going to go up, which is, kind of understood and self-explanatory that you make fun things and you make interesting things. Um, you know, it's going to go. People will be more engaged, simply put. That's it.
Yeah, but then as an output of that, we don't have to stress over making the thing beautiful and risking no one liking it. We can make the thing fun and everyone likes it. And then as a result, we get content of people enjoying the thing we've made.
Amen. That's the goal.
I'm uh, I'm particularly interested in that as we look around kind of a community of makers having spent decades navel gazing at how good the thing we made is, and then now kind of popping our heads up and looking around and saying like, well, okay, who wants this thing that looks good? Asking ourselves, well, how can we make a thing that is fun, or how can we make a thing that is interesting? And I think what you've done really succinctly, Ammar, is outline three categories of things that are inherently extremely fun. Um, and to boot, all of them look pretty cool. And so I'm obsessed with reframing the question of like, how can we just make the thing interesting for the person who has to sit through it, whether they like that or not? And then if they do like it, so many different things can happen. Do you want to ask that question out loud, Hung? I think Ammar and I were right about the place where we were going to say, let's have questions. So
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I have a question and a comment to follow. So yeah, I think the question from for us is like a studio interested in a space like this is what kind of tools have you found to be really effective when you work with brands? Because I think it's very different than, like actually making actually a game, like a PlayStation game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we leverage our various partners that we work with in order to be able to deliver the solutions that we basically sell to our clients is really the simple answer to that. The more detailed answer to that is it really just depends on what the brand is looking for. But yes, to answer your question directly, We are pretty agnostic in terms of what tools we're utilizing and even the partners that we're leveraging to be able to deliver for our clients.
Okay, thanks for that. Like, I have a comment as a lifetime gamer. I'm 50 this year, and I've been a gamer for 45 years, right?
Right.
Various games. So I would consider myself a pretty savvy gamer, and I can spot fakes and bullshit pretty quickly when it comes to brands and games. I'll give you an example. I hope you guys didn't make this. I don't offend you.
No,
but
probably not. Remember, we have only a 5% win rate. So
like Jack in the Box. Okay, they have this Halloween game, and it's incredibly frustrating because the load time is like 10 minutes, and then they walk you through all these story screens, and nobody gives a shit. Get to it. Let us earn the rewards right away so we can get free fries. Come on. So to me, like, there is a huge problem in brands and gaming where they don't figure out the customer psychology, and they jump in and said, let's do something cool, and they fail miserably.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't agree anymore. And I think it's just like, I think we maybe post this, although I'm sure there's still plenty of it. But like right when brands were figuring out that they could sort of use Unreal and then just like building fucking islands in Fortnite, like just like, look, there's a Wendy's island in Fortnite. It's like, well, why would I go to it? Like, what am I supposed to do on this fucking island? Like, and there's just so many like dead assets in Fortnite and like these other platforms. Is like, well, congratulations to whoever convinced this brand to give them $1 million+ to make the thing. But I'm like, but the thing has no intrinsic value. And so, Hung, I think to your point, all audiences can smell bullshit, but I do feel like a gaming native audience will call it out and then just like make fun of you ruthlessly until you fall off the face of the earth as a brand. I just like they're unapologetic about that, at least in my experience. I don't know if that's consistent with yours, Ammar, but it's a tough line to walk.
So Joe, you and I were at IAB Playfronts 2 years ago. I went this past year, and one of the speakers had a really good kind of analogy. He said that if you, marketing executive, were invited to a really fancy swanky dinner that you didn't really feel like you were supposed to be invited to, but you got lucky and you got invited to it. How would you show up to that event, right? You would get dressed up. You'd probably bring a really nice bottle of wine. You would, like kind of take a shower. You would look good. You'd be ready to go. The way that you brands are showing up to that really special event is with about 100 business cards and flyers and being like, hey, like, this is what I do, and handing out, flyers and putting flyers in every spot inside their house. And that's not cool, right? You're not going to get invited to that event ever again. And that is what's going to turn people off. People just want to monetize on day one, and that's not the right way to be able to get into the to be able to get invited back and have people actually love your brand or care for you or want to pull for you. And Hung, to your point, only one or two of those shitty experiences is all it takes for you to say, like, yeah, your burgers are fine, but get your act together, like fix it. And it's and better than anyone else that it doesn't take that much to make it so much better.
I love that metaphor. I think it's extremely potent, right? You pull up to a table with a party with a big long table and you're slinging business cards in every seat like that. It is what some of those activations feel like. And it's like, to what end? Like, I could just watch a TV spot instead. And then none of that is assaulting me. Like, I don't know. It's the line's actually not that fine, and just brands are just doing a fairly poor job in a lot of these environments.
Hung, what's your goal for Game Beats?
To break into game marketing.
Okay, tell me more about that. And
you
maybe we should
know,
just have a side. We should probably have a sidebar because we're getting. I already know
It's all
this is
good.
a longer conversation.
okay, well,
Yeah,
yeah, maybe we'll, yeah,
yeah,
just overall, I guess it's more like, gaming is just like a huge exploding industry, 10 times bigger than Hollywood.
yeah.
So for studios like Roxbox, us, I think we looking for new revenue streams, new ways to break into industry. And I think we all know motion design, we all know animation. So marketing in that space feels great.
Yeah.
So showing up, networking, I guess, is the goal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if I think the reality, right, is your your customer is really a lot of the time the publisher, who's kind of needing that support. The brand isn't, they're not gonna be paying for that. Like what happens, right, is somebody goes to the publisher and then they hire you guys to say, all right, we don't want to make this, you guys make it, right? So ultimately it's about building those publisher relationships. And yeah, I mean that's the spot to be able to kind of, that's where you want to be able to go. And so I do think that GamesBeat is probably a good spot for that to happen. So yeah, I mean, I'd probably give it a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Oliver, I feel like you're sitting on a lot of knowledge there. What do you got for me?
Yeah, it's kind of like even what Hong was saying about like marketing. And I think it's not just about marketing. Like even us right now, we started like we have a 2 year long you know project that we're on right now that's actually a video game. It's coming out like in 2 months. Can't say it because NDA and
Yeah,
stuff. But we started doing the marketing stuff for it, but now we're actually doing the in-game assets, like absolute like playable assets, and it's interesting how like design and motion design and like and the stuff we've done, how it feeds in to everything. It's not just like this is a promo or anything that it's actually the physical working thing because for us, what's working out really well is doing the in-game assets. The marketing stuff is easy to do because we're already doing the stuff that's in the game. So it's just like a transition of like, here you go. We don't need to get someone to go in and record anything. We're making those assets so we can just, render out a part of what we're doing and here you go. But we've been like working with like smaller publishers, bigger publishers, all that kind of stuff. And it's been interesting. But like for us, what is very funny is like the younger generation, even though like Hung, you're saying you're 50, like I'm 35, but I feel like I've been in the gaming industry for so long because it just for some reason gaming has been chasing me and I can't get away from it. And I love it, but it's just one of those things that like I want to do more sports, but then it's just like gaming just keeps coming up. But it's like seeing the younger generation, even for instance, like I had this real experience being back home in Ireland with my niece who's like 1 or 2, walk up to a big massive TV and start touching it, pressing it, and she was expecting the video to respond back to her. And I'm seeing that with the like younger generation coming up of like everyone expects everything to be interactive, even when it's a brand. And it's very interesting because I think that's the way things are going. We're
yeah,
talking about gaming and stuff and gamification, but I think like brands are even realizing that now too because people are growing up and people are growing into this now. The kids that are like 10 years older than you or 20 years older than you will want your brand to be interactive in those years. So I just think it's very exciting, to be honest, the way the world is going in that way because I think brands are starting to realize that they have to make it interactive.
absolutely.
I think raising the bar from barfing a message at you to making a thing you might want to listen to making a thing you might want to interact with to making a thing you must interact with is a really interesting ladder of sort of brand engagement. And I think to your point, Oliver, it's a fun time to be a part of all of that stuff right now because it's an inflection point and it's only
Yeah.
going one way.
And it feels like a game. Like honestly, like I
Yeah.
know it sounds weird, like when you're working on that stuff, it's like playing a video game. So it's like, I'm a big gamer, so when I'm working on this stuff, I'm like laughing to myself, like me and my wife, who's my business partner, I'm like, I'm just having a great crack, like playing all these games and stuff, and getting to play tests and getting people in a room playing the stuff that you're actually working on as well, and getting that feedback and stuff. So I don't know, I just get really, excited by it. And it's really fun.
Yeah, it's super cool stuff. I'll be curious when it's out what title you're working on. That's I'll be very interested.
Yeah, I look forward to it because it's been a long journey. Can't wait to get it out.
Yeah, I bet 2 years, man. That's cool.
Well, if it was 10 years, then we would know it's Grand Theft Auto.
I wish. No, I'm not that lucky to get something like that. It'd be very
Except you'd be the most hated man in gaming.
probably. Yeah,
that's
that's
the,
it.
that's
I
the
wouldn't even
problem.
want to take credit for it.
Be hiding.
Yeah. That's it.
Awesome. Well, Ammar, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for the conversation. Team, as always, appreciate all y'all listening in, participating, making the conversation what it is.
Joe, yeah, thanks so much for having me, and Hung and Oliver and everyone else for joining. Thank you guys. It was great to connect, and please feel free to reach out if you guys need anything or want to continue the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a blast, everyone. See y'all next week.